You must probably have seen these. Okay, well, this is what we say is that Kinderhouse is a gift for life. And so why do you think we say that?
Because of the children.
Yes, absolutely, that the foundation that we're giving to the children now is exactly that, the foundation for the rest of their life. And so it is a gift for life. The things that they acquire empower them so that as they progress, not only do they exceed in the acquisition of knowledge here, but when they leave us, they leave with a can-do attitude. And it's like my goal for every child that leaves here is like, I'm a cool kid. My teachers like me, my friends like me, my new teachers are gonna like me, and my new friends are gonna like me. And I'm smart. I am a good choice kid, right? Because if they leave us with that attitude, are they going to be winners?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
they have that attitude now.
huh?
They have that attitude now.
That's right. We want them to have that attitude. We nurture that attitude. In everything that we do and in every way that we interact with them, we empower them and promote positive self-esteem. So this is what Kinderhouse is about. It is, sure, we use the Montessori method, but our main objective is to give the children the kind of foundation that they need so that the rest of their life they are going to be able to be their personal best, because that is our vision statement, that we are committed to giving the children, to nurturing them to become their personal best, to help the parents become their personal best, and to help each other, to help the teachers become their personal best. Now, if we help the parents, we help the child for life. So we're committed to supporting parents and doing parent education classes as well, and providing parents with information as they need it. Y'all know Miss Angela? Everybody knows Miss
Everybody knows
Angela?
Miss Angela.
Yes, okay. All right. So, okay, so the main part of our vision is that we are going to treat each child with respect and with nurture in a very loving manner, so that they value themselves and so that they are going to leave us feeling really good about who they are and what they're capable of. Now, I'd like to encourage you to take a highlighter and inky. Feel free, these papers are for you, so you can write on them or do whatever. I'm not going to go through every single word on all these pages, but I do expect y'all to take them home and really look at them. And while this is a nice little folder to begin with, I would encourage you to get a big binder, because the longer you're here, the more you're going to collect. And I would suggest that you have sections in it, and part of it would be like the Montessori philosophy and the training that you get on that. Another part of it would be on behavior management. And so there are different categories, and then there'd be some times that we give you training and you have words of songs and finger plays and those types of things. So there's a lot of different things. And if you want to be able to go back and use the material, you have to be able to find it. And if it's in a binder that way, it's easier to find. Okay, what do you think that the most important thing is that we do for the parents?
Communication.
Communicating with them? And what do they want to know about their children?
Because the thing is, preschoolers generally don't talk about what they did in the classroom, or they just repeat every single day. We had the same snack every day. So I think the letters that we get give us a real clear idea of what they are doing, what they are interested in, and especially the parent-teacher conferences. They are so helpful.
Yes,
Like I get to know
absolutely.
what he's interested in,
Yes.
what he's not. So.
And when the parents leave us every day, not only do they want to know about the things their children do, what do they expect us to do?
To let them know if they've improved on anything or if they need any assistance at home that could help
Yes,
them in
we
school.
can let them know that. But we have to keep them safe. Keeping every child safe. And that is why we stress things like remaining mobile and knowing exactly that every child has been signed in, and that we go to each child and we know what the children are doing in the yard. Look, I like to socialize as much as anyone, but if we're socializing in the yard, we are not seeing what the children are doing. And so that's a real temptation because we all kind of like each other and we like to socialize, and that's a wonderful thing, and we should do it more often. However, we absolutely must be always alert, because if there's any area where a child is likely to be injured, it's the playground. And I'm happy to say that by the grace of God, we had one broken arm here, and it was years and years and years ago, because in July, Kinder House will be 35 years old.
Wow.
So in all that time, that's really the only injury that we've ever had. And I hope it's the only injury we ever had. However, it's imperative that everybody is staying alert. Okay, if you look at, if you open your booklet that I gave you, the first thing that it's talking about, the health and safety guidelines. And here you're going to see that one of the things that seems a little bit weird is that everyone that enters is expected to wash their hands. That goes for the children to have, to wash their hands in the yard, or for them to use sanitary wipes in the yard as they arrive. And when I come in, I have to remind myself to sign in, because I have to sign in too. And then I have to remember to sign out, because plenty of times I come back and it looks like I've been here for 4 days, you know. So anyway, we want everybody, when they come in, hello. We want everybody to wash their hands before they do anything else. And we're just getting started. Thank you for coming. How do I say your name?
Zajaya.
Zajaya.
I'll remember that because my last name, Zajaya Zavai.
Right, isn't that something? Wow. Okay, welcome. Okay, so we want to also be very observant of any children who might look ill, and see what kind of symptoms, and check to see, oh, if they have a rash, does this look like chicken pox? Does this look like, what is it, you know? And so then we take the necessary actions. Now, we're gonna have a health and safety training here on Wednesday, the 11th. And so if you write that down to plan to come, because this is a required training. It's unfortunately 3 hours, but maybe we'll
He
get
doesn't
finished
ever really
earlier.
last 3
Sometimes he
hours.
cuts it short for you.
Okay, so if you listen
Just tell him the
fast,
important
if you
stuff.
listen fast, he'll do it fast.
Yeah.
And he won't have to be here for 3 hours. Okay, so I'm gonna ask, we're not gonna go through every single detail. So if you just wanna highlight a couple of things and then take it home and study it, okay? Then there's some information on the back of this sheet about the sanitary codes and things in the environment. And all of this is stuff that you can read, you don't need me to explain it to you. And then when we get to the child abuse and neglect, if when you are observing the children, you notice any kind of injury on their body or bruises on their body, you want to be very aware of it. And if it looks weird to you, then you want to get Erica and Angela to take a look at it to see what do they think. And then a lot of things have changed during the years that I've been doing this, and I see on the back of this form that we need a mandated reporter training on the back here, so that when you do go, we need somebody who's been trained in reporting child abuse. I think that's what this needs. Now, this is a totally new thing, but now that child care centers are under the Department of Education, many requirements are different. Unbelievable. And it's not that it's bad, it's just a lot of details. Okay, there's some reference in this material about shaken baby syndrome. Y'all know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, that does happen. Now, we don't have infants. You don't have? Do you have this one? It's on the back of this one. Okay, all right. So, we could have younger, some of our children could have this type of injury, but just be alert and aware, and if you look at this, then you'll know more about what the kind of symptoms would be. And then on the other side of this paper, let's see, this whole thing is on shaken baby syndrome. Okay, all right, so you might want to read through that and be familiar, even though we don't have infants here. All right, now, the expectations of teachers, y'all have that? Mm-hmm. Okay. The first thing up there is that teachers remain mobile. That means we're not sitting down in the yard, and we rarely even get to sit down in the classroom because we're always in charge of a group of children. And when you sit down to give a demonstration or a lesson, always try to have your back to the wall, but so that you can see what's going on, because just as soon as you turn your back, somebody will decide that they're going to climb on the furniture or something like that. So you want to always try to have in your field of vision a group of children and sit with your back to the walls. Okay, so you're going to remain mobile and alert at all times. Also watching the doors, people coming in and out, and making sure that a child doesn't decide to go out of the door. Mm-hmm. And when we speak, when the parents come in, be sure to introduce yourself to them, right? Mm-hmm. Because when they come in and it's different people that they haven't seen before, they want to know. And although we would like to remember and try to do this, is to put up a note on this, either on the sign-in sheets or on the door that Miss So-and-so is out, but Miss Laurie's in, whatever, so that they know, and we could even put their picture with the note, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're going to try to do all that. Okay, so you introduce, and then another thing that's really important down there is to be aware of allergies and the children who have allergies. I don't know, do we have anybody now that has peanut allergies?
Yes, we do.
Wait, y'all, is it the new one?
Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Oh, in here?
I thought somebody had a peanut allergy.
We have a list in the kitchen,
That's what I-
Yeah.
but we also have another list too in computers and.
Okay, so everybody needs to have the allergy list easily available, so that they know which children
Oh
cannot.
yeah, they're on each door.
On each door, okay. All right, and so then there are some other guidelines hear about arriving a few minutes before you're due to start working. And if you have a child that you're dropping off, drop your child off and then come back and take a deep breath and then clock in and report to where you're going. Okay, cell phones. Now, you're not supposed to be on your cell phone, and you're not supposed to be answering or texting. You're supposed to be observing children and taking care of them. And previously, we asked people to leave their cell phones turned off in their purses or either locked in their automobile. And then when you have your lunch break, you can check for messages. And to give people the office phone number, if there's an emergency in your family, you want them to be able to reach you. Call the office, not your cell phone, for emergencies. So I strongly suggest that you leave your telephones off and that you leave them locked in your car. In fact, several teachers would even, lock their purses in their car, so that you have to be very aware of what's in your purse, so that there aren't, like even an aspirin or Advil or anything like that in your purse that children could get a hold of. Okay, so now, sometimes, yes, we do like to take pictures of the children that are going to go on Facebook and that type of stuff. But for the time being, that's something that the permanent staff members will be doing. And substitutes are, sometimes we don't have permission to photograph children. So until you know more about the children and everything, just let the teachers take those cute photos that you see on Facebook. Okay, we don't give medications. So if parents try to hand you medication to give to children, you say, I am not allowed to give medication. And you can initially say, let me have you speak with one of the other teachers who have been here for a longer period of time. As a substitute or a new staff person, I urge you to never tell the parents, I don't know. Because that's very frustrating. You want the people who are taking care of your children to know. So, if a parent asks you a question that you don't know, you can say, let me get Miss Amanda, let me get Miss Erica, let me get Miss Angela. Go interrupt Miss Angela, who's trying to balance the books or do your paycheck.
We do that too.
So let me get, and because we don't want to say, oh, I'm new here and I don't know and I just came to work and I don't know what happened this morning, because that is very upsetting to the parents and it's very unprofessional. So what are we going to say? Let me get, okay? All right. And I urge you to also get other staff members when the parents have questions about their child's behavior. Once I had a substitute, and when the parents came in the yard, she went to the parent and she said, I'm so glad you're here because your child has been awful today.
Donation.
I thought I was going to have a stroke. I was like, okay. That's something to stress when we do orientation. We never, ever, ever. So if a parent arrives and their child is taking a time out or a thinking time or whatever, or you may be speaking to the child about appropriate behavior, we don't want to reinforce the child's negative actions. And so there's a whole lot of training that you'll be getting about the way that we speak to children about inappropriate behavior. But if you're speaking to a child and you're being respectful and a parent arrives, then you can say, oh, I was just talking to Johnny about remembering to use his gentle hands. What does that mean? Don't hit your friends. Okay, we were just talking about remembering to use our gentle hands so that the parent doesn't get all like upset and, well, did somebody hit you first, or, you know, or that kind of stuff. So we want to be very careful. And look, you might have to write down some of these things because it's not normal to not respond and say, I don't know. And so you might write down, let me get. And you might want to write down some of the other things that are, we were just talking about remembering, like that.
So you're redirecting the child, right?
We're redirecting the child, but we're doing it in a way that is not punitive. It's not, what is discipline? Discipline is to teach. That's what discipline means. It doesn't mean to punish. Most of us think about discipline as a punishment, or when I was growing up, a spanking, when people still spank their children. And so, but now we try to use different approaches when we're helping children learn to do the right thing. That is not a punishment. Okay, on the back of that teacher expectations, there's some basics you should know. One of them, the second one, might look a little bit strange to you. You see that second phrase? We do not overly praise. Now, if we're working on helping children have positive self-esteem and we're not giving them praise, does that sound a little weird? What do children do? They make a paper and they come and they say, Miss Chris, look at my paper. Okay. And so if Miss Chris says, oh, Johnny, that paper is so pretty. Oh, wow. You know, so then Johnny is going to be programmed to do a paper to please Miss Chris. But we would prefer that Johnny make a paper, and when he comes and he says, Miss Chris, look at my paper, you say, wow, Johnny, you really worked hard on that paper. Do you like that color? So that all of the questions and all of the communication are going back to the child, so that he's like, yes, I worked hard. Yes, I like blue. Oh, and you can say, well, tell me about this. And not what is it, okay? Tell me about this, and you might be surprised.
And then his imagination, you get his imagination.
You find out what they're trying to do. And so making statements, and we're going to give you all a paper that is the difference between praise and encouragement. And you're going to see how when you make a statement like, I can see that you really worked hard, does what? Empowers them and it encourages them. So it's a whole sheet of things. And so good. I want you to take some of the things off of that page and put it on index cards and use, that's how I had to learn how to use those phrases. Because when, again, it's not normal to not tell a child that their paper is pretty.
Right.
You know, but there's a science behind it, I promise. Okay, we don't encourage your children to be really silly and tickle them and play chase or anything like that. We want to play and we want to be joyful, but not in a way that is going to encourage them to be out of control. And in the classroom, we have walking legs. You know what I didn't see in here was the standards of behavior. Okay, you don't have to stop right now, but if you
I'm
want.
just sitting to listen.
Okay, all right, if you want to get that, because you need to know what our expectations are in the classroom. I don't see it in here. Okay, so respecting each child's individuality, and Something else, trying to ourselves be calm and serene as we are in the environment, because believe it or not, the adults are the most important part of the environment, because if you're like, then that energy goes all through the classroom. So we want to be calm, we want to be serene, and even when things are getting a little bit hairy, you want to calmly go to the child and say, Susie, I want you to remember to use your inside voice. Or you might say, Miss Kelly, I want you to do whatever. But you go to the person and you speak very quietly to them and give them a quiet direction. And even in the yard, go to them. Do not yell and shout across the yard, unless it's something like a life or death thing that you have to. We don't tell the children no. We might say something like, we keep our feet on the floor, which means we don't climb.
We can
We
make
sit
safe
on the
choices.
chair or we sit on the floor.
Sorry, we need to make safe choices. That's not a safe choice. You don't
Yeah,
say,
it's
no,
not
no,
a
don't
safe
do that.
choice,
Their work
right?
is closed.
Mhm.
Or the work is closed, that, that means that the stuff on the shelf, instead of saying, no, don't touch it, it's like the work is closed. So you'll be getting more and more of those kinds of things. The practical life area is the area back in this part of this particular classroom, and you'll see the children doing pouring exercises and spooning exercises and a variety of things, using often things that you see in your house, in your kitchen, and things like that. And it's called practical life, or sometimes it's called daily living skills. And they're learning to use things maybe like a baster and squeeze the water and move the water and transfer it that way. They might be using funnels and pouring water through the funnels. And that's a skill that they're learning. And while they're doing all these things, all of these activities are designed to help them develop eye-hand coordination, control of movement, and also all of them improve the child's ability to concentrate. So the concentration that they develop, pouring and spooning and doing the activities back here, will follow over to the academics. So this is a very, very important part of the child's classroom. Okay, the other thing on here is giving directions effectively. In order to give directions effectively, you have to know what you want, and this is where standards of behavior comes in. That Miss Erica printed for us. She could just find it on the computer and print it. Oh, Angela did. Angela to the rescue. Yes, Angela, you must be so proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat, all right? Okay. This standards of behavior has been here since Kinderhouse opened, right? It came with me before I built the school because I had worked in another facility, and I couldn't understand why every morning these children were having such a hard time remembering what was expected. And then I worked late one day and I found out that the afternoon staff didn't have the same expectations. The rules in the afternoon were totally different. And so it's like, okay, well, let's fix that right now. So we had a meeting and we came up with the standards of behavior. And so why? Because we want it to be ordered, we want it to be calm, and we want to have it to be a very relaxed, and it's a safe and happy environment. And how do we do this? And so it gives you the guidelines and the consistency. If you're going to ever have anything to highlight, you want to highlight consistency, okay? So knowing what's expected and using, learning these phrases are going to help you be successful in the environment. Now you see how it is, number 3 says speaking firmly when necessary. Now, we can be very respectful, but at the same time, speak with authority. Because it's okay to say to a child, oh dear, this is not a good choice. This hurts your friend. And at Kinderhouse, we don't hurt our friends. So you can speak to them with authority. Now, just like if a child were getting ready to go into the street, you wouldn't say, oh honey, come and stop. You'd say, stop. The street is dangerous.
Wait, there is a lady across the street where I live at. And the child wants to run in the street all the time, and I'm like, please don't run in the street.
Right.
I mean, she has no control over this child.
Well, maybe you can give her this, one of these handouts about how to give directions a child will follow. Okay, so you have to know what you want and establish eye contact. Okay, so now let's think about that, all right? If I'm gonna come over here to talk to Chris, I'm gonna get down to Chris's eye level, and I'm gonna see how I'm touching her, so she's more likely to look at me, right? So I have her attention, so I don't have to say, you look at me, little girl, when I'm talking to you. We don't want to say that. We want to say, Miss Chris, I need your help, or whatever it is. So I'm going to her, and it's eye level, and I stoop down, and I tell them what I want. And I expect them to listen or to follow, to do what we're asking them to do. Okay, so now, this is that language of encouragement, and you can have another one. You can give it to
I
somebody
have
who
one at home
loves.
too, I have it stapled up in my room.
Right,
I know
well,
people that can
you
use
know, there's so much in here that truthfully, that is how I learned it. I took a class, and it was called Systematic Training for Effective Parenting. And that's where this comes from. It comes from that book. And at first I thought, wow, I don't know about this. But it really, when you look at it and you study it, you'll see why this works and why it empowers. And why do we have it printed like this? So we can keep giving it to parents, and hopefully they will use it. Because when we started, I said, well, we help the parent, we help the child for life. Because guess what, we have them for a year, 2, 3, if we're lucky here. But the parents have the ability, even when they're 50 years old, to say, you know what, I really appreciate that. I like the way you did ABC. Everyone wants to be appreciated. And guess what, it works on your boyfriends or your husbands. Just don't tell them that you're using child psychology.
Yes, it does work.
Child psychology really works well on the men in your life. Did I say that? No. Okay. All right, so we're finished with that and that. Okay. Now, Kinderhouse job descriptions and being a team member. And again, the number one thing, it's the number one, supervising, ensuring safety, being alert. Then number 2, we're following the schedule. So in every classroom, there's a substitute volume, and we have to talk to Ms. Tamara about that, okay? And the schedule should be in there along with a list of the children's names, because if they're doing a paper and they don't know how to write their name, you need to look at on the list and see how to spell their names, because there are different ways that people spell it. People are very creative. Like Cameron, I have a great niece, and her name is Camryn, Cameron.
Pretty.
It is pretty, and she's pretty. And however, if I wrote her name incorrectly on her paper, I don't think her parents would be too happy about their creative spelling of her name, right? Okay, so a substitute folder is there that would have the schedule, and the children, a current list of the children's names. And we want to keep the classroom picked up. Like Kelly said to me this afternoon, oh, be careful, there's water spilled on the floor there, you know. And then one of the little children went and got a cloth and immediately
That made me
wiped
so
it up.
happy. I'm not used to that. I'm still getting used to how,
How independent they
Yeah.
are. They
Yeah,
really
That's
are.
amazing. I used to
You've
work-
been observing.
yeah, I've been observing, and I was also at a different daycare, and it was like,
I know.
Nothing. It was nothing like this. I guarantee
I
you.
have a story, if I can tell you right quick. My niece works at this daycare where I used to work at, and they took over another daycare that closed down. There's a father who, the child urinates on himself, he's 5 years old. Urinate on himself, and the daddy goes, oh, he wants to be like his daddy. Daddy still doesn't.
Wow.
In your face, I did the same thing. I said, I
Okay.
think that needs issues,
Right.
that needs to be addressed.
That's the
Oh, wow.
But the child wants to be just like his daddy, he said. I was like,
I
okay,
don't know.
that don't sound right.
Okay. Well, at any rate, those of you who have worked at other facilities, have you ever worked in a child care center? No. Well, that's good because you'll be trained properly.
Exactly.
Right?
Look, I've been reprogrammed already just by,
By watching.
by watching.
I know. Wait until when you do watch these children. You know, I'm going to tell y'all how I became a Montessori teacher. Okay. I was in Germany, and I moved to a new town, and lo and behold, there was this Montessori school there. And so I decided to go and observe because I was doing the correspondence course with from St. Nicholas of London, which is a school that was established by Dr. Montessori after World War II. When she went to London, and she lived with these two teachers, Miss Humphrey and Miss Child, who had been Montessori teachers for years. But at any rate, and they were still teachers, and in bombed out London, it was really a mess. And so Dr. Montessori got the bed, and Miss Humphrey and Miss Child slept on the floor, okay? Well, so I was doing the correspondence course, and I was very happy to find out about the Montessori class. And when I went to observe, I was like you, I had never seen anything like this Montessori class. And I was sitting on the side, and there was this little girl who, there was no running water in the classroom, so they had put a coffee, one of those big coffee urns with a spigot on a chair. And the children could go over there and fill whatever they were filling, and they had a little thing underneath it to catch, you know, on the floor. So this little girl went over, and she had a glass measuring cup, and she went over and she turned the water on, and she turned it off, and she very carefully carried it. Now, this room is full of children, and they're all walking around and buzzing around and moving. And the water thing was here, and the table where she was going was over there. She very carefully maneuvers through all of these children and whatever. And she gets to the table over there, and she put that container down. And the look on her face was what I call Christmas morning face. She was so proud of herself. And at that moment, I realized that children feel self-fulfillment. And that's not a term that we think about with children. Self-fulfillment. I did it. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. She may not think those things, but that's what she was feeling. And I was hooked. So from that moment on, it was like, whatever it takes, being a Montessorian is what I want to be, because I want to give children the opportunity to have that experience and to believe in themselves and to be encouraged to try things that are difficult. So, okay, what was I supposed to be teaching y'all? Okay, there's a lot of things that we want you to do. And we're gonna be giving you lots of things, and I'm serious about y'all having to look through this and read it and highlight it, and you might have to go back to it and read it because you're gonna be brain dead by the time you finish. There's so many details. Okay, so reviewing the class rules. The class rules are basically those standards of behavior. But playground rules, that's something else. And I don't think we have the playground rules in here. I don't think I saw. But anyway, we'll get that to you so that you have it, and you want to really memorize the playground rules.
She almost, she.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so smiling and be friendly. Okay, so we believe that children should be surrounded by joyful people, right? Because if we're not happy, we should find a place to go where we can be happy. Because children deserve to be with joyful adults. Joyful means joy-filled. And if we are delighted with the things that they're doing and the things that they're learning, and we're delighted because it's a beautiful day and the breeze is blowing in the trees, and we're delighted because we aren't perspiring in the yard yet. Or we're delighted because there is some ice water in the yard. But you know, life is supposed to be joyful, and children should be around joyful people. So sometimes, are we having a bad day? Mm-hmm. Everybody can have a bad day. I urge you to do as one of my first teachers used to do. Her name was Elaine. And when I opened the school in 1984, she came to work for me. And she had 2 children. She was a single mom, and she used to bring them to school. When she got to the parking lot, she'd roll up the windows and she'd give herself scream therapy. And so then she would do that, and she'd get out of her car and take a deep breath and come into the building, and she was perfectly happy. Thank you, Miss Angela. See how smart she is?
She knows exactly where they're at.
She does. She can find them on the computer. Okay, so, you know, whatever it takes, leave your problems at home. And it's not that your coworkers don't care about your problems. It's that if you want to talk to your coworkers, have them meet you for coffee on Saturday or lunch or something, because we don't have time to socialize while we're here. And when I had a bad moment, and I went to school, bad morning actually, when I was raising my children, I'd come to work, and at noon I was like, oh, you know, I remember I had a bad morning, because this work was therapy for me. Working with these children was absolutely a joyful experience for me, and it was therapy, so I didn't have to roll up the windows and do it. So, but whatever it takes, that's what you got to do to be a happy thing. Okay, dress code. Now, we used to have a dress code that you wore a shirt like this, or like Miss Erica has, this little pastel shirt with the little Montessori thing. Or you can wear a smock like this, but in the hot weather, they get really hot.
Yeah.
Okay, and wear a name tag, and we prefer that you wear not blue jeans. What do y'all have? Blue jeans?
Slacks, like
Slacks?
khaki, black, white, navy slacks, or Bermuda shorts, capris.
Okay.
We do
Which
jeans
skirts.
sometimes on Fridays, but that's
Yeah,
not part of the uniform.
right.
What did you say? Oh,
Jean-
jeans,
jeans
sometimes on
For
Friday.
like Saint season, we'll do like a Saint
Right.
shirt with jeans, or if it's a holiday, we'll do a holiday shirt with the jeans on Fridays.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay, now why do you think we have a dress code?
To look professional.
Because we want the parents to think of us as professionals. And look, I know the teachers at a lot of the schools wear jeans. But the thing about it is that when, a lot of people think that if you're working with 2 and 3-year-olds or 1-year-olds, you're babysitting. And we know that nothing could be farther from the truth. This is the most important period of children's lives. What happens to them in these early years is what were we talking about at the beginning? The foundation.
Yep.
So these are the most important years of their life. And Dr. Montessori said that this period is more important than the university years. Wow. And guess what? If we do this right here, they're going to excel all the way through. And who knows, they may even get a scholarship.
Because they're like sponges now.
Yes.
And they absorb everything around them.
That's right. And if y'all will let me be a grandmother for a minute, I can tell you that my granddaughter, who was of course a Montessori child here, and later all of the creative things that we nurtured in her, she's been through her regular high school and NOCA, and now she's graduating and she has gotten a full scholarship to a very nice liberal arts school up north in New York. So it pays. So if you give it to them while they're young and they have this kind of environment, it empowers them to be their personal best. And then I didn't give you one of those before, that's why I'm giving you that name. So anyway, this really works, okay? So we want the parents to think of us as professionals, and we want to look professional and take pride in the way we look so that they don't think that we're babysitters. Okay, on the back of that policy, do you have something that's called safety and respect? Okay, I see about scissors here, that the scissors with the points I know should be not in the children's reach. Watch buckets, if you have a mop bucket, that they can't fall in the bucket and drown. We want to be sure that all cleaning chemicals are never, ever, ever do not walk off and leave any kind of a cleaning chemical where children could reach them. In fact, we're trying not to have them in the building, right? We're moving to essential oil cleaners and, is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so we're trying to do away with the chemicals in our environment because guess what? All of those, like room deodorizers and Febreze, all of that's chemicals, and we don't want to breathe that, and we certainly don't want these babies to breathe that stuff. We want the environment to be clean, and we use diffusers with essential oils as well. So that everything will be good in here. All right, watch out for hot beverages. If it's winter time and you have coffee, you have to put a lid on it for sure. I would prefer that you never be drinking anything out of like a Coke bottle or anything like that that would be a soft drink, that would be an unhealthy thing. In fact, you know, I think mostly everybody just drinks water around here.
You know what, in coffee?
We're coffee.
And coffee.
And tea. Or hot
And
tea.
tea. Okay. Okay, so is there any, see number 9? About we're not gonna gossip? Please.
Thank you.
Right. You know, we don't wanna be talking about each other. We don't wanna gossip. And in number 8, we do not wanna speak about any negative behaviors. So if you have a concern about Sammy, don't talk to Miss Kelly about that if Sammy's here. Oh, and if Sammy's father comes, we don't want to talk about the behavior in front of the child. Any place, if the father wants to know, or the mother, you can say, how's about, I leave a note and I ask Miss Michelle to call you tomorrow. What time do you have lunch? And what is a good number where she can call you? So that she can give you an update on our observations. So we're not gonna have negative conversations, because if you say about a child that they're always hitting, what do they think about themselves? I'm always hitting, right? We don't want to reinforce a negative behavior, so we're going to not do those things. We want the children to sit down at the table to eat, not walk around eating and drinking. So all of this stuff in here, if you would be so kind as to go through that. Are we at 30 minutes into this thing, or 20? How long have I been? 20, okay. All right. Now, this freedom within limits. Dr. Montessori wanted children to be able to be self-directed. Do y'all have that thing? Freedom within limits?
Yep.
Okay. Y'all found it? Did we take yours out accidentally?
It's probably just reorganized.
I know. It's my fault because I was taking them all apart.
Yes.
You found it?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so there's freedom within limits. Dr. Montessori designed this so that the children can move around and they can choose activities off of the shelf. Sometimes children have a difficult time using self-control if they're in that kind of environment. So we say that freedom is within limits. If a child can't handle the freedom, then we're going to take steps to encourage the child to maybe, the teachers will maybe encourage a child maybe to sit next to them at a table. While the teacher might be working, they might encourage Jimmy to come sit over here and do his activity because he's having a hard time remembering what he's supposed to do. So freedom is not guaranteed to everybody. Sometimes children have to grow into it. And so, but by the same time, token, we don't want to be punitive about it. We want to empower the child and help them gain that self-control. Okay, so they're supposed to respect others and respect materials and respect the environment. So that means we're